Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's me. Who else? In case you don't know, it's me, Mitch. But you knew that. Good to see you all. Everybody's pouring in. Everybody's chatting away. I've been reading. You guys are really quite a community. Every time I see the tremendous number of chats and conversations going between you, I'm convinced that I should just sit back and let you talk. Let you talk. Considering the number of you that actually come in, even before I press the live button on this thing, I think 15 minutes before, I've got 10 or 15 people in here just chatting away. I'm so happy to see that. And it's good to see you guys today, Saturday, September the 14th. It's raining on and off outside. Strange weather this afternoon. Big storm comes through, a lot of lightning. That's my new word for thunder and lightning. A lot of thunder and lightning and heavy, heavy rain. 3 minutes later, the sun is shining. 5 minutes later, thunder and lightning and rain again. So hopefully at least I'm protected from power outages with all my gizmos here. The only thing I can't do anything about, unfortunately, would be if my Spectrum cable modem or Spectrum cable goes down, then I'm stuck. And the best that can happen at that point would be within a minute or two, you'll probably see me pop back up in here on my cell phone from my patio outside where I get good enough service from 5G to actually stream up. So if something should happen, and I always tell you this whenever rain is threatening, the likelihood now of me just disappearing is nil. But if it should happen, I have a way, independent of everything here in the house, to get back online. And it might take me a minute or two to do it. So at least hang in there for a minute or two. While I'm gone, the chat still works. Everything else is still working. It just lost the feed from me to StreamYard. But all the rest of the stuff is still there. It's still broadcasting the stream out live. So hang in there. Hang in there. It was an interesting morning this morning. For those of you that saw my morning coffee episode, that was the second, like I said, the second one. The first one I went on and on for an hour. And you can thank me for not subjecting you to all that. Although, during that hour, I made some great little speeches. Problem was, it was kind of like a live stream. I'd go off on this tangent and that tangent. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Sometimes, if I'm trying to describe something, like may involve biochemistry, and I use a term like oxidative phosphorylation. Well, I know exactly what that is. I can even picture the chemical reactions in my brain, but most people don't know what oxidative phosphorylation is. And in my effort to make sure that people are always clear and understand what I'm referring to, at that point, I would take a detour. And for the next 20 minutes, I'd be explaining the ins and outs of the electron transport chain and all of that chemistry to you. And I would forget, trust me, how I got on that train or where I got on that train in the first place. That's okay on a live stream because people are chatting, new questions are coming up. Very little coherence between now and what happens 2 hours from now, other than I go nonstop. But in a video is supposed to tell a story. It's supposed to have a start, a story arc, a conclusion, a finale, an ending that makes, in some glorious fashion, makes and leaves you with the point of all that firmly understood. That wasn't happening this morning, so I went, oh, hell, shut the camera off, took a deep breath, pushed the button that said record, smiled. Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch. Welcome to Morning Coffee. And I started all over again. And I managed to keep it within, I think, 20. Well, I actually went for 35 minutes, but after I got done editing it out, those few times when I started to take a little detour, I ended up with 26 minutes of video. So I appreciate you guys watching it. Appreciate you watching it. And I was a little surprised yesterday. I said, after yesterday morning's little speech about those two, quote, studies that had popped up on my Google News feed, and after, I don't think I really debunked them in any major way, but I kind of pointed out the flaw in virtually, if not all, save for a very few studies. And when I say very few studies, I mean studies like those that are being done by Dave Feldman and Nick Norwitz, by people that aren't bought off and paid for like all the other medical institutions, research institutions, and universities. They're all supported. They're funded by endowments, advertising money, the media. And the whole purpose of, I think, virtually any study that they do is to generate sensational headlines for their media outlets to further their cause. And I think that's their goal going into the study. I don't think their goal is truth-finding or anything to do with science in any way. I think it is all marketing and propaganda. Many others think that as well. So I made that little video yesterday afternoon as a spoof. And the one I'm talking about is the ones that did a study that shows that pigs may fly. I didn't have a script for that. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was at my computer and I just started to record it. It all started when I was talking about a flying elephant on my morning video, and I know there's a common expression that says when pigs fly. When pigs fly means it'll never happen. Yeah, I'll do that when pigs fly. You've all heard that expression. So I went in to a website I have that has video clips and photographs that are not copyrighted, public domain stuff that anybody can use anywhere. And if you put something out on YouTube, it better be like that, or you're going to get a copyright notice, revenue sharing, or some other kind of nonsense from them, especially with music. And I've gotten a few of those. They don't count against you, but they send the money that you might have made on that video to the person who has claimed the copyright on that. Even if 30 seconds of your video, of your, say, 20-minute video is using their stuff, they get the money. So I try to avoid that. Gotten hit a couple of times with those things, usually on music. So I found this copyright-free animation of a pig flying. I said, oh, that's cool. I got to make a video around that. And like in the next half hour, that whole thing kind of evolved. It was no script. I had no idea. I just did it right off the top of my head. I just made a couple of scenes. I decided to make it like I was two different people named Mitch. Back to you, Mitch. Take it away, Mitch. You know, tried to sound a little bit like a phony newscaster. Stuck the microphone up in front of my face like they all do to make it look like I was a newscaster. I had two different camera angles going. I don't know about you, but by the time I got done making that, I was laughing my ass off. I said, oh man, everybody's going to love this. This thing is so silly, it's going to get 10 million views. I mean, it's going to be, everybody's going to send it to their friends. Once again, I was wrong completely and totally. I don't know. It hasn't even reached 800 views in total since yesterday. I've gotten amazing compliments from some smart people who told me how funny they thought it was and how sarcastic, how dripping with sarcasm it was. Most people probably didn't even click on it. It wasn't, I don't know why. I was a little disappointed, but it wasn't unexpected. So for those of you that saw it, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to do many more of them. It reminded me of the time that Sean Baker tried to make some funny little skit videos where he dressed up like a woman with a dress and a wig, and he tried to be funny, and they didn't go over well either. I don't know. I know carnivores have a sense of humor. Maybe it's the rest of them out there that don't. So I probably won't be doing that anytime soon again. But yeah, Lori Weitzel says it was hilarious, Mitch. Please do more. Well, I knew that you guys would get it, and I knew that you guys would watch it and laugh. The whole purpose of that was totally not serious. It was a spoof and a satire talking about the sad, sad state of affairs we have today with the institutions who put out these fraudulent studies and the mainstream media that just pushes that crap out there to support any message that supports the drug companies, the food companies, and makes carnivores look like stupid people who want you to die from cancer and diabetes because you eat meat. Shame on you. My disclaimer is very simple. I'm not a doctor. I can't give you personal one-on-one advice. I will never advise you to go against your doctor's orders. If you ask me whether you should take a statin, I will tell you that's up to you. Do your own research. May go against what I truly believe, but it's not my place, legally or even morally, to give advice like that to somebody who I don't know and don't know the particulars. You may have something deadly that a doctor needs to find. I'm not going to tell you, don't go to the doctor. I'm going to tell you, learn as much as you can, listen to the things that I say, and take that into consideration while you're making the decision whether you need to be taking a statin or not. So that's, again, another variation on my disclaimer, but I always like to get that out of the way sometimes early in my live stream. Let me say hello to some people here, and then there's something I want to show you. Turamir. How you doing, my friend? Turamir says, hello, Mitch and people. United Carnivore is a brand new member of the private community. Where is it? Here it is. That is Michael Shelley. Michael is the guy in Tampa who is coordinating our meetup, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday in Tampa at the Terra Gaucho Brazilian restaurant on Del Mabry in Tampa on Tuesday, the 24th of September at 11:30 a.m. I haven't heard differently, so the last I heard, we have Robert Kiltsey, Dr. Kiltz is going to be there, Dr. Boz, Annette Bosworth. They will probably have some of their own followers from that area there. We're trying to narrow down desperately a really close number of who we can expect. I've gotten RSVPs now for maybe 10 to 12, counting me and my daughter. And Michael is gathering these numbers. He's supposed to tell the restaurant a week in advance, which means this Tuesday. So I'm hoping that on my Tuesday night live stream, if we have to, we can finalize these things and gather up any last minute people who decide they want to come. I would say if you live anywhere within an hour and a half drive, it would certainly be a lot of fun for you to come. So welcome to the private community, Michael, and also Michael's father, who I got a chance to meet, has also joined YouTube. That might not have anything to do with the fact that I said, hey, you guys, you don't join my private community, I'm never talking to you again. I mean, I don't think that was extortion or anything. But sure enough, they both joined. Thank you guys. I know you're going to enjoy it. And I want to see you in our Thursday night live streams. You guys would be welcome, welcome participants in that. Also, another one, Thomas, RSA, became a member of the private community today. So thank you so much and welcome, welcome to you. So Toromir asked me a bunch of questions here, and let me address them right now really quick. Is this the one? Question for Mitch or others. Did you find it strange or odd in the beginning of your journey with the carnivore diet that you have only meat and fat? It feels kind of funny. Well, of course it does. You have a lifetime of living on sugar. The first 30 days are an adaptation period, and you are going to feel funny at times. You're breaking habits. You're breaking habits. You're breaking habits of having that toast and that cereal with your morning coffee. You're breaking habits of eating 6, 7, 8 times every day. You're breaking a lot of habits. Your physiology has to adapt to the lack of sugar going through it and the addition of a lot of fat. So yes, odd, strange or odd is a very kind way of describing what most people, including me, and I was already keto, feel when they go on this thing. I don't know how else to describe it. I've now been 8 days without dairy products as well, and I temporarily leave coffee out for 2 weeks. I don't think this is the correct time to stop coffee if it's part of what you do. I think keep the coffee. It's not going to hurt your physiological change that you're trying to do, but will be one less thing that you're used to, that you're doing without, and maybe a comfort to you. So I would keep the coffee in. And maybe the change starts to hit in my subconscious. Now 16 days without carbs. You're getting there another 2 weeks, and you will start to feel normal, and the cravings and the habits will be disappearing. So I hope that answers your question, and I'm sure other people in the chat, I haven't read it all yet, have also helped you out and answered your question. And I think you'll find most of those answers are similar to what I just said. Mike Shelley, how you doing, my friend? Mike's going to ride with me over to he's a neighbor, lives here in Melbourne. He's Michael's father, and he's going to ride over with me to the meetup next Tuesday. Not this coming Tuesday, but next Tuesday. And brave guy, going to ride all the way to Tampa with me. Buckle up, my friend. I am not, nor I ever have been, a timid driver. I drive like I shop, like I'm on a mission to get there. And Michael says, finally able to sign up as soon as I did with all the rain here. We just lost power. Oh, man. Your timing is perfect, Mike. Michael, very good, very good. And Boyd Lamb is here today. Hiya, Boyd. Good to see you. And who else was chiming in the beginning? Boyd and Turamir going back and forth. Drone shots. Jody, my friend Jody is here. How you doing, my friend? Jody, for the first time in 2 years, believe it or not, it's been 2 years since I flew an FPV drone. I said, I got all these drones and all this stuff sitting around, and before they all rot and fall apart, I miss it. I've been so busy. I miss it. Last night, I charged a few things up, and just to see if things are dead beyond, repair and have to all be reprogrammed. And I charged all the batteries in the transmitter up. I charged some lipos up. I took an FPV drone and my transmitter, and I took it outside and actually flew it around line of sight. No goggles, nothing like that, but just to work the sticks and see the thing fly again, and everything worked great. So now I'm excited. You guys are going to see a film of me one morning. Instead of sitting out on my back porch having my morning coffee, you're going to see me drinking from a thermos in my car on the way to fly my drone, and you'll probably see a few minutes of me enjoying one of my passions in life, and that is flying aviation, either model or real. So I am going to do it. I had my doubts about whether, because of my brain surgery and my head injury, I would ever be able to do this again through goggles without getting dizzy. But I did put the goggles on. I did try them out, and it appears like everything is going to be okay. I watched some recorded videos of some previous flights of mine in the goggles where everything was rolling over and turning around, and I did not get dizzy. So I think everything's going to be fine. Wish me luck with that. And I still have a few drone guys that follow me on the channel, so this is going to be a video for them as well. Nick Sheeson, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Papa Carnivore. Peter is here. Peter's been a big help to me. Peter gets in the chat, acts like a one of my hatchet men, and takes care of these people that say silly things. Thank you, Peter. Always appreciate when I see it, and I do see it every time you do it. Peter says, but I'm here today. Fever broke early today. I feel great. Well, that's great. I didn't know you were sick. But in the past, when I got the flu, you got the flu. Hopefully being healthy. Oh, you said you were only sick for 1.5 days. Super, super. CB Carmack is here. Hey, CB, how you? He's another one that goes in there and just tears in the chat, in the comments, tears into these people that say stupid stuff. Nice guy, and happy to have him on my side. Sheriff CB from Alabama. And we have less junk, more health. How you doing? Says hi. Satya Khalsa is here. How you doing? Good to see you. We know Satya from the panel in our private community live streams. Always good to see you. Naruto Kun is here. Naruto has been around on this channel since day one. Day one. Naruto, there's been a lot of people come and gone since a year and a month ago. But a bunch of you have just been here all along and have stuck with me, and I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all doing great. Boyd Lamb says, okay, putting the coffee percolator on the stove in anticipation of the live stream. Yes, sir. This is still all coming in from before 3 o'clock. This was at 8 minutes to 3. So I just wanted to say hi to some of the early birds. Susan M. was here. Hiya, Susan. Good to see you. Jerry Vajtush was here from Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Good to see you. Aber Bear was in early. And I said hi to Lori Wetzel already. Aunt B is here. Long Haul Healing. Nico. Hi, Nico. How you doing? And Lori Ribideau says hello. Cripple Bells. How you doing? Interesting name. Moorhen from England. Always here on Saturday. Good to see you, my friend. Peter Kruger is here. How you doing, Peter? Must be over there somewhere. It says evening. And who else is new? Linda. Linda, how you doing? Nancy. Nancy Arietta loves the music. Happy to hear that. Ooh, and Sandy Blythe is here. Says hi. How you doing, Sandy? Good to see you. The unretired carnivore. That's what I am now. I'm unretired. That's a great name. Linda G. How you doing? Tina Schweigerath is here. Hiya, Tina. Good to see you. Sandy Newton, my first OG live. Welcome. Welcome, Sandy. I hope we don't scare you away. Hope you have some fun and enjoy this. Good to see you, and thanks. Thanks for coming. Margie Graves, hello, all happy carnivores today. Down 135 pounds from the heaviest weight. Thank you, Mitch. You gave the answer. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. 135 pounds. Congratulations. Congratulations. That is fabulous. I weigh 137 pounds. You have lost the equivalent of me in my entirety. If that brings the scope of what 135 pounds can look like. That's an incredible accomplishment. I'm very proud of you, Margie. So proud of you. I don't know how much more you have to lose, but it sounds like you've got it nailed, and it's not going to be a problem. Isabella, how you doing? Hi, I've seen the carnivore interview from Kelly Hogan with Dr. Ovadia today. Her friend, 5 years clean carnivore, had sadly a heart attack. Dr. Ovadia said some confusing things about statins, carbs, and testings. I'm not going to comment on him or some of the other YouTubers. I did make a point in my, I think it was this morning in my video, that there's a lot of YouTubers out there. Some of them are doctors. Some of them are doctors and well-respected and smart. And I agree maybe 98, 99% with them. But there are very few people out there who I agree 100% with, because we all have different theories on things. And since nobody is teaching this, since nobody's teaching this in any course or any school, there have to be a few free thinkers out there with their own take on some things, and who aren't just parroting everything that they hear the other guys say. And most of us, when it comes to most of it, are really saying the same thing. Eat meat, don't eat plants. Throw a little fasting in, supplement when necessary. Thank you very much. That'll be $100. Pay the nurse on the way out. See you next week. That's it. You've just had the whole complete medical run through there. And there are nuances along the way. I have my own way of doing things, you may have discovered. Maybe a little eccentric at times. One thing I can tell you for sure is if people watch my stuff, they don't say, I had just another one of those carnivore YouTubers saying all exactly the same stuff, telling you to subscribe to his channel and click the notification bell. No. I'm too old. I've been thinking about this stuff too long, and I constantly think about it. And every day I explore a new twist on something in my head, try to figure out if this might be what's causing that. Because as much as we know about the physiology of the human body, we still haven't scratched the surface yet. And those of us that actually realize that and don't get too carried away with our own and think we know everything are the ones that still have a chance to actually figure shit out and learn something. So I think that's important. But yeah, I know I haven't seen that. I don't watch Kelly Hogan. I watched enough Kelly Hogan to know pretty much what she has to offer in the term of advice. She's done a great job. I've heard somebody else refer to her as a cheerleader. I kind of get that feeling. And same thing with Philip Ovadia. I fix hearts. Don't watch anything he does. I don't think he's breaking any new ground. I think he knows what he knows. Now, when you get a cardiologist like Nadir Ali, come on. Man, I can't wait to watch his stuff. The guy is a thinker and smart and a realist and figures out if he had believed something wrong and fixes it real quick and corrects it. I like that guy. I have a very few people I follow on YouTube faithfully that I know are going to have new ideas and spark new thought in me. And as long as we've still got something to learn about how all this is working and why it's happening the way it does and what caused it. And how far back in our history do we have to go to actually figure out, for example, like I always talk, where do those cravings actually come from and why do we have them? Because nothing we have came from nowhere and has no reason for its existence. Or it wouldn't be in our programming in our brain and wouldn't affect us. Everything has a cause and an origin. It's been the goal of my life to discover the origins of not only life itself, but of why life behaves and reacts the way that it does. What else we got here? Marilda Tuamala, how you doing? Blessings, everyone, she says. And I think, well, I see Pamela Suarez is here. Gary Williams is here. Sandy Newton is here. Good to see you. A lot of people here and growing. We're almost up to 110 on a Saturday afternoon. Great to see you all. Great to see you. And I've been going on for a half an hour so far and haven't said much of anything. If you got questions for me, and I know I can't answer questions about your own individual blood pressure or things like that, but if you have basic questions, and if you have a question about me, you're interested in where I'm coming from, I'm happy to answer those. I don't mind talking about myself. I'm trying to set an example here. So ask away, put 3 Q's, capital Q, Q, Q in front of your question, and I might stand a chance of finding it. Now, there's a video right now out there on YouTube. I am going to put a link to that video in the chat. If you want me to put it back up, ask me and I'll put it back up. This is a video called The Genius Behind My Fans' Weight Loss. Vinnie Tortorich. You know who Vinnie Tortorich is? If you don't, you should. He's produced 4 movies, including Fat, the documentary, which was a fabulous movie. And he's got another new one coming out. He has been the brunt of so much pushback from all the powers that be in medicine, food, and pharma. They even did away with his Wikipedia page. They had him canceled. They had his name taken off of his wife's Wikipedia page. This guy is credentialed. He has a history. They disappeared him from all social media because he was daring to put out a message that was true. And he, in case you don't know who Mike Rowe, R-O-W-E, is, you should know. He is a podcaster, and he did an interview with Vinnie Tortorich that was fabulous. And I'm going to, and I hope I don't get copyright strikes for this, but I want to play you something that when they started talking about this, it just made me feel less like the Lone Ranger, if that means anything to you. Less like the Lone Ranger, and you'll see what I mean. And more like, yes, Martha, there is somebody else on the planet that is actually on the same page as I have been for a full year now, harping about addiction, 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 which is at the core of all of my beliefs, all of my methods that I come up with to do carnivore, all of the reasons why it works, all of the reasons and things you need to learn to get past the first 30 days to kind of hack the power of the addiction, override it, at least temporarily until it subsides. I hear people mention addiction in passing. I hear people name their channels like Robert Sivas, the Carb Addiction Doc, and never really tell you how. Maybe if you make an appointment with him, become his patient, maybe he'll tell you how to get rid of the addictions, but he's not giving it away like I am. At any rate, I want you to watch this. I'm going to hit play here.
So the
Right.
sex addict works in a whorehouse. You know, that would be difficult, but there's something kind of brave about it. I think the next category of all this is that's who we're all addicted to sugar. We're all
Right.
addicted to grains. The food pyramid must be one of the greatest lies ever foisted upon humanity.
Yeah.
And so we've all drunk that Kool-Aid, as it were, and we are all addicted to some degree to these things. And it just seems like that's how we have to start talking about it. We are all alcoholics living in a giant distillery.
Yeah.
That's what it's like to walk down the middle aisles of a grocery store or to walk into a Dunkin' Donuts. So what can you say today to equip people with something approaching fortitude or understanding or awareness? Or how can we think about functioning in a world where we are utterly, not just surrounded by the substance that you want us to avoid, but inundated with invitations to enjoy it?
Well, if you want me to be perfectly honest, I'm going to have to lie.
Fine.
We can't. You know, it's each individual person. You have to sit down and say to yourself, this is what I'm going to do. You have to make a concerted effort because no one else is going to help you, right? The grocery store is not going to help you. The convenience store is not going to help you. The gas station is not going to help you. All of the fast food places that people think they need to go to is not going to help you. You have to stop cold turkey. And again, like I said, you want the honesty. This is the honesty. It's not going to be easy. You have to change habits. You have to do a 360. That would put you right back where you started.
Go to
A
the
180.
180. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, we've all done 360s.
Right, and,
What
and
is
then
a
you walk
diet?
right back into it.
What is a diet?
Oh, yeah.
A diet's a 360.
Perfect. Yeah.
So, you know, it's funny we were talking about RFK Jr.
Okay, I'm going to leave it off at that. I don't want to risk showing you the whole thing. This video was 1 hour and 43 minutes long, this interview. If you had planned on watching an hour and a half movie at any time, take that time. Watch this instead. Watch this instead. I really like this guy, Vinny. He's a realist like me. He's made fabulous documentaries. It's interesting just to see and know his history. But that's something that I watched. I watched that this morning, and I was just so happy to hear somebody else talking about the power of these addictions and really what it's going to take to overcome them. And why I keep telling people, don't tease your addictions with, if you're an alcoholic, with non-alcoholic beer. You're teasing your subconscious and disappointing it every time, and it's going to get pissed. Don't tease your carbohydrate. And I mix up the terms sugar and carbohydrate because they are completely and absolutely interchangeable, even though I get told often enough that I'm not addicted to sugar, but I sure like my bread and my pasta. Carbohydrates in any form, whether they're sweet tasting or not, are sugar. They are glucose, fructose, or galactose at their base, and break down to those no matter what form you eat them in. When you eat pasta, you're eating sugar. When you eat a bagel, you're eating sugar. When you eat a potato, you're eating sugar. When you eat a carrot, you're eating sugar. Even when you eat a Brussels sprout, it is sugar and non-digestible fiber. So in talking off the top of my head, I sometimes say you're addicted to sugar. Sometimes I say you're addicted to carbs. They are interchangeable terms in my mind and mean exactly the same thing. The one thing I try desperately and consciously not to talk about, or what word I try not to use in that context, is food addiction. I'm firmly convinced there is no such thing as being addicted to food. You can be addicted to carbohydrates, and that might be the only food that you're addicted to, but you're not addicted to animal fat, and you're not addicted to protein. I don't care. Nobody would kill to go buy a ribeye. Nobody sits around all day drooling for a ribeye. Nobody has a real problem walking by the ribeye freezer in the supermarket and not picking one of them up, especially when they see the price. But walk by the ice cream, walk by the baked goods, the breads, all that stuff. And all logical thinking will go out the window if you're an addict. And most of us are. And that's one of the things this little podcast that I really like you to watch really brings to the forefront, is that just everybody is addicted to carbohydrates in some degree, and most of us to a very, very large degree. He's also asked in that podcast, do you think sugar addiction is a larger problem than alcohol? And he parrots. I never heard him say it, so I'm not parroting him. He probably never heard me say it. So he's come to the same conclusions I have, that if you add up the damage done and the numbers of people who are addicted to virtually every other addictive substance in the world, that number is still dwarfed by the sheer size of carbohydrate addiction in the human animal. That is fact. And until all of us start treating this addiction and bring it to the forefront of the national dialogue and elevate it to be a problem more serious than that of alcohol or drug dealers, cocaine, heroin, or other forms of addictions that are not substance addictions, but activity addictions like gambling. Until we legitimize it as a real thing, we can never fix it. Unfortunately, with all the lobbies and the narratives of the media and the money funding virtually everything, that message never gets out. And you ask the average person, are you a carbohydrate addict? They look at you like, what the hell is that? Is that really a thing? Not me, as they stuff donuts in their face. That is the problem. I'm going to keep talking about it. And as you heard it before, you're going to hear it again. And maybe you'll tell somebody. When I hear it like I did today on this podcast, I want to spread the word. I'm going to put the link again in the chat there. Cut and paste it, put it somewhere. Take a look at it when you get a chance. I think you'll like it. All righty. Let's see. I have any coffee left? No, it's gone. Look. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, I had a little announcement I wanted to make. I don't know if everybody here is going to remember this, or so many people who may not see this or watch this portion. You know, I may get a total of 1,000 views on one of these live streams, but very few of those 1,000 people actually watch the whole 2 hours. So most of what I say in these live streams is only heard by maybe 100 or 200 people tops, which is why I think sometimes it's a good idea to do like what Anthony Chafee does. He does a lot of live streams, and if he has a particular question he answers, which is very relevant, and it was a good answer, he'll make a standalone video out of it. I've tried that a couple times, and they weren't really well received. I don't know why. Maybe you thought I was just being lazy. but it's a very common practice that people do. I probably should start doing it more, because even if a few more people saw that question and the answer I gave, be better than nobody. Monday morning, I have a dentist appointment in Orlando, which means I have to leave my house before I would have time to record my Monday morning. I could record it, but I couldn't edit it, upload it, and get it all posted until that afternoon. I may record it and see what happens, but it's an hour drive, and then of course you always wait, and then I'm an hour in the chair, and then we're going to address an issue that I'm having with an implant that I have right here. This eye tooth right here is an implant, one of my bicuspids. Probably the most likely tooth to break in the human mouth. When I was a kid, and I can blame sugar for this too. This is incredible. Everything that ever happened to me health-wise, like somehow I can always blame on sugar. When I was a kid, it was in the 50s. I was born in the late 40s, so, I turned 4 years old in 1951, and so I was pretty much raised as a kid in the 50s. We were already eating way too much sugar. We were drinking Coca-Cola. We were drinking orange juice. We were eating cookies like they were gone out of style, and my mother was a cookie addict, and we always had 20, 30 boxes of cookies in the house. An entire double kitchen cabinet, 3 shelves, was what we called the cookie closet. My mother was addicted to that stuff. So we as kids, and that's why I always was a fat kid, because we ate tons of sugar. Well, along with eating tons of sugar comes cavities. And I had cavities like they were going out of style when I was a kid. And I had a dentist whose name was Dr. Goldman. I'll never forget Dr. Goldman. That was back in the day when you lived in a big city and the dental offices and the doctor's offices were really in the lower level, the basement, per se, of one of these row houses. And they had an entrance from the outside. They went down a couple steps into the doctor's or dentist's office. They put out a shingle, and they were the neighborhood. Goldman was the neighborhood dentist, and he was my dentist when I was a kid. And Goldman's philosophy was always, when you're drilling out decay, it's always better to have bigger margins to make sure that you don't miss any of the decay. Which meant that later in life, I had, where he had put fillings in my teeth, a large number of teeth with very thin walls left. He drilled out way too much of the tooth to put the filling in. He did both bicuspids like that. And I must have 5 or 6 crowns in my mouth now from where these teeth broke, where the sidewall broke out of the tooth, because Goldman drilled too much out of my sugar damaged teeth. And I paid the price for it the rest of my life. Well, about 15 years ago, one of my bicuspids cracked, and it cracked right up to the top of the root, which meant you couldn't put a crown on it. The tooth was gone. So it was either do a root canal on it and crown it. And I don't like root canals. I tried one once, it didn't work for me. Pull the whole tooth, fill the hole with some bone, let the bone grow in there, come back in 6 months, put an implant post in it, come back in another 6 months after the bone grows. So it's a year process. Back when I had it done 15 years ago, it was a year process to get an implant. It took 6 months for your bone to get ready for the implant and 6 months for the implant to firmly embed itself and have the bone grow around it. And then they can put the crown on top of the post. And I had 2 of them happen. Both of my bicuspids happened within a few months of each other, cracked the same way. So I got 2 crowns, 2 implants, one on this side and one on this side. The one on the left side has in 15 years has never really been right. Something with the bone and where they put it in. Well, it's getting to the point now where I'm starting to get some inflammation and maybe a little low-grade infection around it, and the dentist recommended that I get rid of it. And I still don't know how I'm going to do that or what I'm going to do. I have a funny feeling they're going to have to take it out. I'm not going to have another implant put in, but I'll probably have to have a bridge made for that. It may be a few months or more in the process of that where I've got a missing tooth, and I'm going to be, of course, trying to do YouTube, be very self-conscious about that. I don't know how much pain I'm going to be in. I doubt they're going to do it on Monday. But he may just say, let's just get it done. And I may not be in any shape to make a YouTube video for a couple of days. I don't know. It's all up in the air right now. But I can tell you for sure that if I'm not around on Monday, you'll hear from me. I'll post something in the community tab saying I'm out of commission for 2 days. See you on Wednesday. Or I'll see you on the live stream or whatever I have to do. But this is something that I have to get done. It's not a good idea to run around with some kind of a low-grade infection, especially close to your eyes, or it's just not a good thing. And I got 15 years out of this implant. I'll have to live with that. So wish me the best. And you can tell how much I'm really looking forward to that. Douglas, super sticker, thank you so much, my friend. That's much appreciated. Always, always. Thank you very much. All right, I got that out of the way. Let me go and see if I can find any QQQs. Ben's Aquatics says, hey, Mitch, have you ever thought of who cooked the meat after our ancestors scored a hunt? There must have been master chefs to make everything taste delicious. Well, I'm sure they all pitched in, and I'm sure that they just put a stick through it and hung it over a fire in the early stages, or else they ate it raw. I don't think I honestly don't think that it was that big an event. I've never really studied the history of cooking. I'm sure there's an awful lot of information out there. I'm sure a lot of people have researched that. A lot of anthropologists who've dug up the implements that were used and tools could probably give you a timeline of how and when they went from eating the meat raw to when they went to cooking it over an open flame to when they invented a frying pan or some other implement to cook it in, and the development of more advanced utensils and knives other than just flint stones and things like that. But it's an interesting question. Something that isn't going to affect the way that I do carnivore, and I seem to spend most of my time trying to research stuff that answers those questions. Less junk, more health. Question, I went to a local restaurant and had a grilled steak and salmon last night, and I started to not feel well before I finished. Do you ever have negative reactions when you go to Sonny's? I don't, you had salmon at Sonny's, or you're asking me when I go to Sonny's? No, I never have. I've never had that. Of course, when I go to Sonny's, I'm just eating the meat. I'm eating brisket, and I might eat they have smoked. No, Sonny's doesn't have, we don't eat wings there. We eat wings at another place where they just smoke them. They don't cook them in seed oil. But I might be getting a little bit of rub. I might be getting a few carbs more. But I don't use any of their sauces. And when you have sliced brisket, just on the very edges, there might be a little of the rub. so you're not getting too much of it. And no, I don't ever have that problem. Never have felt bad from that. It's possible though. God knows what they cook that stuff in a restaurant. God knows what they put on the salmon. That stuff may be swimming in canola oil. You don't know. Or it may have just been cooked improperly or old or any other thing that you're likely to find in a restaurant. It may have nothing to do with how they cooked it. It might just have been a bad piece of fish they've had laying around. Would have no way of knowing. So it seems that those are the only two questions that I see so far that have a QQQ in front of them. And I can't believe that's all there is. Ellen says, you can get a bridge, Mitch. I have a couple because I don't have a good enough bone for implants. They are in the back. I've been happy with them. Yeah, I think that were these the bicuspid there. I think that might be might end up being the best answer. But I'll talk to this guy. This dentist of mine is a pretty sharp young guy, and Papa Carnivore says he had a root canal once. Yeah, I had one, and it didn't work, and I ended up having to have the tooth pulled anyway. That was the other bicuspid. They tried to do a root canal on it and ended up pulling it, and that's when I got started down the implant. And then the other one broke, and I said, no root canal, we're doing an implant, let's just do two of them. We did the two of them pretty much simultaneously. But God knows how long that I'm going to be gone without that tooth. And you generally don't notice it. When I talk like this, my teeth don't show up. I'm not a big teeth type of talker. I can talk, and people will say, does this guy even have teeth in his mouth? But when I smile like this, you see my teeth. My bottom teeth are a mess. The enamel on them is almost all gone. And that comes from a lifetime of letting them try to whiten them for me. And all of that crap and chemicals did nothing in the long run after all these years, but leave me with very little enamel on those teeth and mostly bone, and bone stains very easily. That's why I go every 4 months to the dentist. I'm not giving up my cigars and I'm not giving up my coffee. Sorry. And I live with the stained teeth, but I'm not one of these people that just looks like a piano when they smile, and I never will be. I never will be. So wish me well with that. It's no big deal. It's certainly not a big deal. It's not like I'm going back in to have my skull cut open again. This is, just a little dental work. But that dental work can put you out of commission for a day or two, and I just wanted to let you know not to worry about me if you don't see me on there Monday morning. And Sherry says, Mitch, I'm an expert in the teeth department. I'm getting 10 implants. When I make videos without my tooth, I get big views. Maybe yeah, I saw one of your videos, Sherry, where you were missing one of your front teeth. I understood exactly what you're going through. And it is an ordeal. It is an ordeal. And I lived for almost a full year with 2 teeth out. Now, he did make me a plate that had the 2 teeth and it went up and snapped in. But I couldn't eat with it. It was a cosmetic thing. It was just something to put in when I had to be out in public, and I didn't want to have 2 gaps in my teeth. So I hardly ever used it anyway. We'll see. We'll see. Everything in life is an adventure. Even my brain surgery was an adventure. It was something that if you live through, they say, the old saying, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And boy, am I ever a living example of that saying. And thank you, Sherry. Thanks for the encouragement. Thanks for the super chat. You're a sweetheart as usual. Thank you so much. And we have also from David a super sticker of a little yellow man waving at me. Thank you, David. Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate that. Always appreciate all the support. Here's a question. For the bicuspid get an implant, bridge will not be as comfortable. Yeah, I don't know. You may be right. You may be right, because if they're going to bridge it, they have to go to the incisor, and I don't know about that. But I'll talk to him about it. Whatever I got to do, I'll do. If we go for another implant, what's going to happen is they're going to have to implant some bone in there first, like they did the last time. There's a hole in the bone. They have to, and they use human bone when they do that. They have to use real human bone that'll grow. I don't know if they have to type it like they do if you have an organ transplant, but you're putting somebody else's material in your body. And they have to plug the hole with this bone. They pack it up, and you wait 6 months for it to grow in place and be solid enough where they can then drill a hole and screw the implant post in. So again, if I elect, and I don't know if this was 15 years ago, they may have a lot of advances in techniques now, but I won't know anything until we look at the latest x-rays and he examines me and has an ambulance standing by for the heart attack that's going to happen when he tells me how much it's all going to cost. And then we'll make a plan on how to attack it. We'll see. I mean, the tooth is still in there pretty solid. I have no trouble eating or chewing or anything like that. It's just he said that I'm starting to get some bone loss around where that post is screwed in. And I have nothing on this side. On this side, if I can feel it almost. I have a little sensitivity in it. On the other side, I feel nothing. It feels just like a tooth in there. So at least it's not both sides. We'll see. We'll see. Thanks for the good wishes, everybody. I appreciate that. Question, Mitch, how the hell do I make bone broth? Please, Mitch, I need to know. Douglas, I don't make bone broth. I keep threatening to, but I've never gotten around to it. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why I've never made it. I understand it smells the house up real good if you do it in a slow cooker, but I've never made it. I know that Sherry Morgan makes bone broth, and maybe she'll email me her recipe for bone broth and how she does it, and maybe I'll try to make one and film it. But I don't. Yep, Papa Carnivore says it's super easy. I would guesstimate that there are hundreds of videos on YouTube from carnivore influencers about how to make bone broth, especially the keto people like Ketogenic Woman, Anita, and some of those people who do tons of recipe videos. So look out for those, but it's not rocket science. You throw bones in a slow cooker and some liquid and turn it on, I guess. I wouldn't know if I was doing it correctly or not, but I would probably watch 2 or 3 videos first, get a hang of what I'm trying to accomplish, and then attack it. I just don't know if I would drink it all that much. I'm so settled into what I do, and it's working so well. I never feel the need to improve it at all. That's one thing about carnivore. Once you at it for a while, especially a couple of years, like I am, it becomes second nature to you. You just do it. You don't think about it. It works. It's doing the job. I'm feeling great. I have all the energy I need to have and want to have. I sleep good. Basically enjoying life, doing my YouTube thing. I think I'm getting all the nutrients I need. I'm getting them in my food. So to me, yes, bone broth might be good for me. I do make soup. And when I do a chuck, when I sous vide a chuck, I always take all of that liquid that comes out of the sous vide bag from the chuck and all the juices, and I save it, and I make beef soup out of it. Now, it's loaded with collagen. It's loaded with all kinds of fats and nutrients, and I always make sure to eat that stuff. So that may be fairly close to bone broth, but I'm not the kind of person that eats bone marrow or any of that, because I get plenty of fat, I think, from the bacon and eggs I eat almost every day. Uh-oh. Sherry Morgan has a bone broth video on her channel. And yes, I could buy a house with my dental and bone bills. Yes, Sherry, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. These guys know how to charge. These guys. But I'll tell you what. Most of the people I know who are my age don't have their own teeth anymore. They've had long ago have gone the denture route. Other than my 2 implants, every tooth in my mouth, even the ones that have a crown on them, they're still my teeth, and they still all work, and my gums are in fabulous health. My gums are in great health. Thank you for that super chat, Sherry. And thank you for that. And anybody who wants to go to Sherry's channel can just click on her picture right there in the chat. It'll open another window and take you right to her channel, and you can find her bone broth video. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have my own teeth. I've had them all my life. I intend to keep having them. And it's not about cosmetics to me and how they look. It's about whether they function, and I can chew well, and I don't have dental pain or any of that other stuff. And my gums, I use a Philips Sonicare electric toothbrush. I go the whole routine, the whole 2 minutes with it. I then use a water pick after that, and I go through a whole entire tank with a water pick, get everything out from down in the gum line. I have no gum disease, no gingivitis, nothing. My gums are fabulously healthy. I know that carnivore really, really, really helps that. My gums don't bleed. I use my water pick on the highest setting, just 10. And if I put it on my finger, it actually hurts. But my gums are so tough, I hardly even feel it. So I'm doing everything that I can to take care of my teeth, short of the things that stain it, which are appearance things only, and I don't think are affecting how well they do their job, which is what's important. What's important to me is that I can devour a steak, even if it's a little tough, chew it up, have no problem whatsoever with it. So, may not have the prettiest teeth on the planet, but they're very healthy and they work, other than this one little issue that I've had. And I guess I've been putting it off as long as I could to deal with it. And time has come to deal with it. Sherry says, I had cellulitis in my jawbone that traveled to my eyes. Oh, God, it's easy because, believe it or not, where this implant is in my bone is, see where I've got my finger? Right there. It's right there. It's adjacent to my sinuses. That's how far up that implant goes. It's scary when you look at an x-ray of it. These infections, it's not really infected. It's not infected enough to raise my C-reactive protein to show systemic inflammation, but I know that there's a little something going on in there, and it has been for a little while. And like most people, until it creates a problem, why cost you all that money and all that inconvenience and pain and everything else if you don't have to? But it's coming time now where I really think that if I let it go much longer, it might turn into a problem. So I have to put on my big boy pants and do what I got to do. To make you feel better, my great-grandmother had all her own teeth at 90. Yeah, my grandfather did too. My grandfather had all his own teeth. They didn't look so hot. My neighbor down the road, Elva, 105 years old, still got most of her own teeth. It's crazy. She's not, I don't know what she eats. I know she eats birthday cake. I saw her last. I know her mind is pretty well gone. She's really full-blown dementia now. Doesn't remember much of anything. But she's 105 years old, still got her teeth. Tammy says carnivore definitely makes the mouth feel and teeth feel healthy. Yes, it does. Question marks. David, use QQQs instead of the 3 question marks, and I'll see it better. I'm just looking down the chat now, not searching for anything in particular. It says, could you use the broth from the roast and add some water and bones? And I bet that would make a good slow cooker bone broth. Bone broth is broth. You make broth from anything. People take bone broth. They throw chicken bones, ribs. They throw, everything. Beef bones. They, cut the big bones up so that the marrow's exposed. Let the marrow get into the broth. People who aren't strict carnivores can throw onions and, they call them mirepoix, onions, carrots, and celery. Throw that in there. A broth is just throw anything you happen to have in, including the kitchen sink, and slow cook it for a while. Put a little seasoning in it, some salt, and you're bound to get some nutrients in it. And I don't think any 2 broths ever come out exactly the same, which is interesting. It's like an adventure. Potluck. Stephen Albeck, who happens to be a chef, by the way, make bone broth with Instant Pot. Oh yeah, that's one of the things that Instant Pot is good for. Bones, water, salt, boil till everything is off the bones. Non-carnivore would add celery, carrots, and onions. Strain out with a fine mesh strainer. And then you've got the broth. Yeah, I guess it's not rocket science. Not rocket science. Sherry says, yes, Mitch, it's from my front tooth. Oh, the front tooth is where you got the infection. Sherry says, my doctor has no idea how I'm still alive. Well, I'm sure you try to tell him, but he probably doesn't believe you. Yeah, that's the only thing I look forward to about going to see my doctor at the VA once a year, and I do it to get my tests. And I even now, the way I am, I'm thinking about, what do I need with all those tests? I only am concerned about a few very small areas. I'm not worried about my cholesterol. I'm not worried about my triglycerides. I'm not worried about any of the metabolic health markers. I know I'm doing good. I have no reason. I know I'm feeling good. I have no reason to believe that any of that stuff is off. I know that last time my vitamin D levels were a little low. So yeah, I might like to get my vitamin D checked. My electrolytes, never hurts to find out. But the problem is that your body generally regulates them pretty well, and the electrolytes in your blood are usually controlled in a very tight range anyway. And that test doesn't tell you how much you have in any reserves anywhere. So it's not all that meaningful. There are other symptoms that tell you much better and more reliably if you're low on potassium, low on sodium, things like cramps, things like that. But I drink electrolytes, and maybe not every day, but maybe every other day. As long as I feel good. So, but I like to go to my doctor because it's like an in-your-face thing. I'm trying to convince her that she needs to do what I'm doing because we're both health-wise going in opposite directions, and it makes me sad because she's a sweetheart. Golf addict. Spanky used to be doing nothing better than having a big bowl of ice cream with your dentures. That's disgusting, Spanky. Thank you for that. Juan is here. Juan from Chile. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Frank Thompson's here. CB Carmack, golf addict, Tammy, Sherry. Yeah, the usual suspects are all here and talking to each other. Papa Carnivore. Peter says the key for curing depression, anxiety, ADHD, which I also suffer from, OCD, PTSD, is keeping your fat macros high. I eat only fatty cuts of meat, eggs with lots of butter. Peter, that's a good general rule for carnivore, is to eat the fatty meat. Juan says hi to me. Julia Wigger, hey, good evening to you. How you doing? How you doing? So let me try my QQQ search again and see what happens. Gary Williams says, and some of these are older, and for some reason I didn't pick it up the last time I did the search for him. But if you're still here, Gary, let me answer this. After 45 days being strict carnivore, lost too much weight, 150 to 125 pounds. Now taking, you put creative, but I guess you meant creatine. To regain muscle and weight. Is creatine safe? I've heard it's okay. I guess it depends on the dosage. I've never taken it. I've never researched it either. There's a lot of videos about it. I would, if you want an opinion from a doctor who knows something, you can always trust Ken Berry on these supplements. And he's got a video of about everything. So I would defer to him. It's not something that I'm intimate with. I've never taken it. I've never considered taking it. I don't care about it. There's too many supplements that everybody's telling you need when you really don't need any, but very few. You should be eating everything you need in the meat. Like B12. My B12 is through the roof because I eat so much meat. My vitamin D isn't, because we're simply not getting enough sunlight these days. Even me living in Florida, I don't get enough sun. So I take a small amount, not mega doses of it, but a small amount of vitamin D. I don't know whether it's up to my normal level, but I'm still within a normal range, and I still feel okay. So, but as far as creatine goes, I would just go to YouTube and in the search bar type Dr. Berry or Dr. Ken Berry creatine. And you'll probably get a video, 2, maybe even 3. And he'll tell you honestly, and I think correctly, how to approach that, what it'll do for you, what the hazards might be, and probably give you some references down in his show notes to some studies or tests or something like that. And there's no sense me going over and redoing all that stuff that he did when his stuff is out there. It makes great reference things for some of the things that we do that may not be real common and not apply to everybody. I have, where are you here? Hang on a second. Let me see what else I got. I hope that answers it for you, Gary. Not that I answered it, but there's Douglas. There's the bone broth question. Thanks for your previous answer, Mitch. Ben's Aquatics. Was your health in decline when you switched to carnivore? I'm trying to get my mom to do it. I would say most definitely. I was I was getting older. I wasn't that unhealthy. I was still low carb most of the time, but a low carb addict. And I would have more or too frequent binges and just ate too much sugar. And I was in my 70s and I had rheumatoid arthritis and I had eczema and I had high blood pressure, hypertension. I never had any sugar issues because I was mostly low carb all my life with far too many binging spurts of high carb stuff, but not a steady enough diet to become pre-diabetic or anything like that. I ate, before we learned what we learned about seed oils, I ate my share of all that crap too. And I always considered myself healthy, but as I got older, these things came along and I started to feel older and I started to hurt more. My back always hurt. My knees always hurt. Then I got this arthritis in almost every joint of my body, and I would have flare-ups of this stuff, which is autoimmune. Certain times during one of these flare-ups, I wouldn't even be able to tie my shoes. I hurt so much. And all of that, the high blood pressure, the eczema, the arthritis, even my eyesight's gotten better. My hair's getting darker. My brain, just sharp as a tack, I think. Of course, I'll let you decide that, but I think for a man my age, I think pretty clearly. And the operative word is think. I figure stuff out so easily. I put all these pieces together in my head and remember stuff. So it's all working great. It's all working great. My gums were bleeding a little bit. Even that stopped. Everything got better. So I can say to you most assuredly, for your mom, it couldn't hurt if she's willing to try it. It could only help. It's certainly, I can't see any way that it would take her current condition, whatever it might be, and make it worse. CB Carmack says at 77, there's no need to worry about cigars and coffee. CB, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of people don't realize that when you get to us, if you know somebody who's smoking cigarettes and they get a lot of pleasure from it, and they're 92 years old, let them smoke, for God's sakes. What are they saving it for? Anyway, somebody sent me a comment and directed me towards a YouTube video where this doctor spent the YouTube video claiming how healthy it is for you to smoke cigars. I haven't watched it yet, but rest assured I will. So either this doctor is in the cigar business and owns acres and acres of tobacco fields somewhere in the Caribbean or South America, or he's on to something. So I'm curious to see that. I just haven't had time to look at that. But I thought that was funny. CB, thanks so much. I appreciate the leeway there. And we have Mary Endersby, thank you so much. Hi, Mitch, I finally made it live, and I'm very happy that you did. Good to see you, Mary. Thanks so much for the super chat and the support. Always appreciated. Always appreciated. And I don't know where you are. Are you over in Europe somewhere? If you are, I hope to see you again next Saturday. If you're here in the States, Tuesday night as well. So I hope to see your name again and again. Thanks for coming. And thanks for the super chat. And question for the Oh, Sherry said for the bicuspid, get an implant. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. And those are problem teeth to fix, unfortunately. I mean, that's what happened. The first time I had to deal with both of them is that there's no wide range of fixes like there might be with a molar in the back or your front teeth. I'm looking for questions. According to this, I seem to have gotten to all of them. You make a video of bone broth, health in your mother. I just keep going round and round. So let me go down to the bottom of the chat. And we're almost up to an hour and a half here. Question. What are your thoughts on cannabis? Sherry says. I think they're about to make it legal here in Florida, make recreational marijuana legal. I'm kind of in the live or let live category, to tell you the truth. Same thing about alcohol. I think if people want to use substances that alter their physiology or their brain, who am I to talk? I drink caffeine and I smoke cigars, and I don't know how much nicotine I'm getting from cigars, but I think on that podcast that I referred you to, and since it's still in my clipboard, let me paste it again to the chat. So if you haven't gotten it, go watch that. They were talking about these things, and they were talking about caffeine and nicotine. And according to Vinnie Tortorich, he said they're very little effect, nothing to even worry about. There's a lot of people that say that nicotine and caffeine are good for you. For every argument about something, there's always somebody on the other side. I mean, it's just human nature. You always, that's what debates are made out of. So, as far as cannabis goes, I tried it once, and believe it or not, once in my life. I was much younger, but not a kid. I was in my 30s, I think. I've told this story before. Most of you probably haven't heard it. I was on a scuba diving trip down in West Palm Beach. The trip was run out of a dive shop in Orlando. No, it wasn't even from Orlando. It was from, was this while I still lived in the Tampa Bay area? At any rate, it's been so long ago. But I used to scuba dive a lot. I was an avid diver. I loved it. I have somewhere here on this computer, I have pictures of me on the back of my boat, full dive regalia, big spear gun, big adventurer, and was diving over West Palm Beach, and we went on a trip. So they chartered a bus, and we all rode over from wherever it was, either Orlando or St. Pete, and we stayed 2 to a room in the hotel. It was all men on this trip, so I ended up rooming with a young guy. I was probably in my early 30s, and he was an anesthesiologist. And, you just go in the room, you just sleep in the room, that's about it. You get up early in the morning, you eat breakfast out on the boat, out diving, and we were diving wrecks off the coast of West Palm Beach, and there's some pretty neat wrecks out there. And get in the room, start unpacking. Next thing I look over, he's rolling himself a joint. I said to him, he said to me, you want one? I never gave it a second thought, to be truthful, in my life. I didn't drink. I never had the occasion. I was not that kind of a kid. I was I was the fat kid that nobody liked and kind of a nerd. So I wasn't cool enough to be a pot smoker or anything like that. I did smoke cigars at the time, and that was what I did. I puffed on cigars. I said I've never really tried it. Oh man, he said, you gotta try it. And then he proceeded to tell me how good the shit was that he had there. He was telling me what breed it was. What is something like Sensimilia or something? Something sounded like that. I don't know much about marijuana. I said, well, I don't inhale when I smoke. I'll probably cough my lungs up. Oh, you got to try it, he said. You got to try it. And I said, all right, let me try it. Let me try it. He rolled me a joint. I said, okay. I lit it up, sucked that smoke down in my lungs, coughed like crazy, got over that. Try it again, he said. Okay, so I managed to keep a lungful of that smoke down. I held my breath for a while. I let it out. Wasn't enjoying this very much. And he said, I said, I don't feel anything. He said, give it a few minutes. I said, do it again, he said. I mean, you had to be there. It was the funniest thing in the world. I mean, looking back at it, it was a riot. So I did it again. Held my breath, and after a minute, and then the next thing I knew, I was hysterical. I was laughing my ass off. My legs were like rubber. I guess they say wasted. I was wasted. I could hardly stand up. I was laughing so hard. I don't know what I was laughing at. I was just laughing so hard that tears were coming out of my eyes. I don't remember a whole hell of a lot about that night. I know we went out to dinner. I know that the guys had to pretty much carry me. I mean, I had them carrying me out the door. Well, you know, I was around both of their shoulders, and guys we went out to dinner, and after an hour or two, it finally got better. But I swore then. I said, well, I mean, that was an interesting experience, but I'll never do that again. And maybe if I had only gotten mildly wasted, maybe if the shit hadn't been that good, I might have seen something in it. But I had no desire and never did it again. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people that need that stuff and get by. I understand that if you've got cancer, it does a great deal towards getting rid of the nausea and the pain, things like that. And in that respect, the medical marijuana is great. And if people want to do it recreationally, just don't kill me in your car with an accident because you're stoned out of your mind. And that's pretty much what I think about cannabis. I think it's a big business. I think all of the interests, and I know exactly who they are in Central Florida, that are going to profit the most from this being legal. I know who's buying up all the land where they're going to raise this marijuana. Who has the political influence to get the licenses to not only grow it, but to own the retail outlets and the distribution chains. And they're all attorneys, every friggin' one of them. They are all slip and fall, advertise on the morning news attorneys that are behind this entire push. A few years ago to legalize medical marijuana in Central Florida, and now it's the push to legalize recreational marijuana. As if they're not making enough money, these criminal bastards, making mayhem for people, suing everybody. They now have to own the marijuana business too. It is no coincidence that these same attorneys just so happen to be the biggest donors to the Democrat Party in the state of Florida. All of them. All of them. It's always the same people causing all the trouble and making the most money out of it. That's just what's happening. I'm not involved, but I know these people personally from my time as a fairly influential businessman in Central Florida years ago. I've actually had many of them as my customers. Question, Mitch, or anyone ever air fry a ribeye? How does it turn out good? We always air fry ribeyes. Ribeyes in the air fryer are a staple for carnivores. I have videos on my channel about cooking ribeyes. You can cook them from frozen in an air fryer, and they come out great. They come out great. I have a video about from frozen to cooked in an air fryer. So yes, absolutely. Easy to clean up, quick, and you don't even have to thaw the thing first. That was Spanky. Morgan & Morgan is the largest Papa Carnivore. Morgan & Morgan is the largest personal injury law firm in Florida. Yes, Peter. And just exactly who do you think I'm talking about? Take a guess. I gave you enough clues. You seem to be on the right track, Peter. You seem to read between the lines there, Peter. I won't tell you who it is, but his first name is John. How's that? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Peter. It's been going on for a long time. They've been buying up farmland like crazy over years and years and years, maybe decades. Been pushing this marijuana stuff as long as I can remember. Now, if you're a libertarian, and I'm mostly libertarian, I guess, believe in personal freedom. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, you should be able to do what you want to do. If it doesn't aggravate or annoy somebody or hurt them, you should be able to do what you want to do. Seems to be something we're losing. We're losing in this country. Ribeye Sue's not surprised. Question, please look up the chat at my question. It's a bit up there. Sherry, did you ask a question? Let me see if I can find it. Less Junk, More Health asked me a question, said, when was your last dive? Now, my last dive was over 10 years ago or more. I haven't been diving for a long time. Most of that stuff, I got it out of my system. I didn't have to stop. I stopped because it started to get boring. It's just been the story of my life. I get flamingly interested, obsessively interested in things. I end up, whatever it is, I end up taking it to the highest level of whatever it is, whatever activity, sport, I don't care what it is. I need to be playing. I did that with model airplanes. I ended up competing in international scale competitions with turbine-powered jet models that I built. I mean, I always, I don't know, it's just the way I've been. And then I get tired of it. And something else attracts my attention. I don't know if that's fickle or that's just over curiosity. Whatever it is, it's the way I've always been. And same thing happened with airplanes. I at one point I owned 3 airplanes, and I got to the point where I just never felt like flying them. Anywhere I would fly, I've been to 10 times, 20 times. The Bahamas, Key West, whatever I could fly to within a couple hours. Been there, done that. Then you end up with something that's expensive, goes to hell if you leave it alone, and you got to maintain it constantly. And I finally was happy to get rid of those things. Same thing with that big boat I owned. I do that stuff. And now at my age, I've done all that, so I don't long to do it, and I'm perfectly content. So having done that and done all those things that people aspire to do, I got past that. Now I'm happy to do nothing and not to have responsibilities and not to have to worry about maintaining all this machinery and abiding by all the laws and regulations governing its operation and everything else. So, but I'm getting old, and that's a normal thing when you get old. You tend to slow down, and your world kind of shrinks on you. And I'm here on YouTube. And we'll see how long. There are days when I get tired of this, but no, I really like this. I really like this. It fits in with my lifestyle now. Sherry said, question, I'm a professional gambler for over 20 years, she said. I hope this is the question you're talking about, Sherry. It doesn't give me a high, it's just a job. However, I still find myself craving a binge once in a while without a trigger. What do you think causes this? Well, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I could take a guess at it for you, and you probably would agree with me and have probably guessed the same thing. It may have been your job, and you may not really be addicted to it, but it's still something you enjoy. It's still something you enjoy. And if you enjoy it, you're going to want to do it. And that might make you crave it a little bit. You may miss it. It is exciting. Maybe like going to a show. Maybe I can tell you, I have the same thing happen to me a few years ago. Well, not a few years ago, in 2016. I took 6 cruises in a period of 3 months. I've told this story before. 6 cruises. I live 20 minutes from the cruise port here on the east coast of Florida, Port Canaveral. Both Carnival and Royal Caribbean go out of Port Canaveral. At the time, they had last-minute cruises for singles. And I was a bachelor, and they had last-minute cruises. If you book them, and there was a site called Vacations to Go, and you could filter everything down where I could see just the single occupancy cabin cruises out of Port Canaveral with a real discount. Usually, if you book a cabin by yourself, you got to pay for 2 people. They consider most cabins double occupancy, but they would have 90% off the second person. So in other words, if let's say it was $500 per person and the cabin would normally cost you $1,000, they might discount that second person by 90%. So you'd pay $550, which is reasonable. You pay $550, have the whole cabin to yourself. And a big long page of these things would come up every day, especially in the fall. After the summer cruising season and before the winter cruising season, during the months of September and October and maybe even into November. I was just recovering back then. I moved over here. I was getting over my depression, getting over my divorce, getting over going broke, getting over all this crap. I didn't have a lot of money, but they were offering 4-day cruises for $79. They were offering 7-day cruises for $119 in an ocean view cabin because it was crazy. And in that 1 year in 2016, from nothing, I became a platinum member on Royal Caribbean. I went on so many cruises, and I didn't spend a grand total of $1,000 for the whole mess. And I went on one cruise that was 14 days. Eastern and Western Caribbean back to back on the Freedom of the Seas, which at the time was their biggest and newest ship. It was with the most beautiful cigar lounge you ever saw. That whole trip cost me like 700 something dollars. It was crazy. And I go on a cruise ship, I don't spend a dime. If it doesn't come with the cruise, why should I buy it? There's more than enough to eat. I don't drink. I don't need alcohol. I'll bring my own cigars. And 14 days I went on that cruise. After 2016, Sherry, and how this relates to your question, I never wanted to see another cruise ship again. Lately, I've been kind of getting the hankering to go on another one of those cruises. Something in my memory brings back some of the enjoyable stuff about it that I liked. Some of the glamour, some of the glitz of the ships, the sailing. Not so much the ports. Most of those ports are a waste of time. I've been to every one of them 10 times over the course of my life. I could almost draw you a map of downtown Nassau, Bahamas, and where the stores are, where the Atlantis Resort is. I used to fly over there when I had airplanes constantly. So the cruise ships, other than the ones that went down to Mexico or the Virgin Islands, mostly went to the places that I used to fly to anyway. If I never go back to Freeport, Grand Bahamas in my life, it'd be too soon. But I get the hankering to do that again. I think that it might not be an addiction, Sherry, but it might be a habit. Oh, Sherry, you clarified that. Thank you. You said, let me find it here. Oh man, I gotta scroll. Here it is. Sherry says, it's not a gambling binge I crave, it's the food binge. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, both any binge, both binges do cause endorphin release, dopamine. It just may be that in your memories, if you start thinking about gambling, you get a little dopamine hit because dopamine is released in anticipation of the actual dastardly deed. I don't know if you know that or not. They've discovered that. Everybody thinks that you don't get a dopamine release until you actually do the deed, eat the sugar, make the bet, whatever it is that you're addicted to. That's not how it works. They've discovered that that's not how it works. The dopamine is released in anticipation of it, excites you to the point where you basically will get up and do whatever it takes to acquire that thing, anticipating all the pleasure you're going to get from it. And unfortunately, sometimes that pleasure is unrealized, especially in courting and the pursuits of romance. Something drives us to chase, spend a tremendous amount of money and energy chasing a member of the opposite sex, acting in ways we would never act, spending money we would never spend. We're driven to this not by having sex, but by the anticipation of having that sex. And it doesn't always happen, which leaves us really frustrated. And that can also happen with any addiction where the reward or lack thereof does not satisfy all of that dopamine and serotonin driven anticipation. It may very well be, Sherry, and this is just a guess. Nobody could know the answer to this. We could only postulate that so much of your being in casinos when you were doing it professionally involved the eating, the buffets, the drinking, and all that stuff, that even thinking about gambling triggers a craving for that associated activity that went with the gambling. in much the same way as somebody who is trying to quit smoking finds that just thinking about having a cup of coffee triggers that craving for the smoke, because the two of them are always associated and happen at the same time. And that's why so many people trying to quit smoking have to quit coffee for a while, because it's a habit that they happen at the same time. How could I have a cup of coffee without a cigarette, or vice versa? So I hope that answers your question. I take a stab at it. Maybe that makes sense to you. Wow, 10 minutes to 5 already. God, does this time fly? Oh, wow. Let's see. I've had my head in the sand with food costs. I think $30 steak is a good deal. Somehow we always get used to it. We always get used to it. What they usually do is there's a certain pattern of how things work when they want us to get used to a new higher price as normal and think it's cheap. Some kind of bullshit story comes along that you're not going to be able to get it at all. There's a shortage, there's bird flu, there's going to be no eggs, there's going to be no meat, there's a strike, and there's this, there's that. The price doubles in the stores. We all panic. And then when we're all panicked and paying all that ridiculous amount of money for whatever it is, it may be gasoline at the gas pump, it may be eggs, it may whatever, then all of a sudden everything gets better, the products start showing up in the store again, the prices go way down, but they never go quite down to where they used to be. They always settle 5 or 10% higher. Now, if they had just raised the prices without all of this ridiculous exercise, 5 or 10%, we'd be bitching like hell. Holy cow, the price, inflation's only 3% a year, and the price of a steak just went up 10% in 2 days. And everybody'd bitch and moan and cry. But if the price doubled and then went back down and it only settled 10% higher, we'd be talking about how cheap steak just got. It's a trick. It's a psychological trick. It makes us think that new higher price is cheaper. This happens with gasoline all the time. And unless something really major happens, the price of commodities is going to continue to go up. The price of your electric bill is going to continue to go up. The price of your water bill is always going to continue to go up until we get some politicians that don't play these stupid games. What do I tell people? Don't put your hand on your ass while you're waiting for that, because it will grow there. Or don't hold your breath is another way of saying that. So that may be why a $30 a pound steak seems cheap. It's crazy. Wild caught salmon for $10 a pound. Now we're talking about price of food. I go to Sam's, I try to buy the markdown meat and the markdown fish. I eat a lot of ground beef. And if I can have a meal for $4 to $5, I don't care what it is. It's a cheap meal. Today I had bacon and eggs, which cost me $4.50. And I'm going to have a pound of ground beef, 2 patties for dinner. And that's going to be my food for the day. I would spend less than $10 today on food and get all the nourishment I need and be very happy with that. I can't do that on the days when I eat a ribeye. But when I buy this stuff on sale from Publix, and they have a sale, and if it's $6.99 or $7.99 a pound, then I buy 100 or 200 pounds of it to put it away in the freezer. Then I've bought ribeye futures pretty much, and I'm guaranteed and locked in my price at $6.99 or $7.99 a pound for the next year. And if next year the sale, they raise it $1 from last year's sale, I'll buy another 100 or 200 pounds. I'm still working on the stuff I bought last year. We need to take advantage of stuff like that. We need to try to figure out a way to buy in volume, get a freezer, and take advantage of those sales when they come along. Absolutely, absolutely. Otherwise, you're going to be paying $16, $17, $18, $20 a pound. When I see a 3-pack of ribeyes at Costco that cost $75 for 3 ribeyes, I know they're 2 inches thick. I know there's 6 pounds of ribeye there. It's still, I go, holy cow, that's just a lot of money. A lot of money. I am watching. People are starting to say goodbye to each other, and that's probably about time for that. All this talk of pleasure and dopamine is making me horny, says Peter. Wow, Peter, I can imagine doesn't take much to make you horny. I know what that's like. It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. If you weren't healthy, if you didn't have the hormones flowing, if you didn't have a testosterone in you, you wouldn't have these urges and you wouldn't get horny. So that's a sign of good health. And as we get older, if I wasn't what they call a dirty old man, I would be worried that there was something wrong with me. That's natural and normal. CB, oh man, they support their local sheriff. He got 2 dozen eggs for free from the barn up the road. Hey. That's very nice of them. Support their local law enforcement. Less junk, more health. Thanks for another great live, Mitch. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you so much, my friend. You too. And I don't see, well, here's one more question. Did you finish all the eggs you bought? I'm 2/3 through them. They're hanging in there. I'm having 5 of them almost every day. And they're good eggs. They're not quite as like yellow orange, the yolks. They're more yellow. But I'm sure there's plenty of nutrition in them. They're still eggs. They still will make a chicken. If there's enough nutrition in there to build a live chicken, then they have what I need in them. Maybe the so-called pasture-raised eggs, which is probably skirting some of the labeling laws, I would probably like sticking the word organic on everything. But, and I read somewhere that there's certain things you can put in chicken feed which will turn the yolks orange. So you come up with a system, I'll find you 500 fraudsters that are figured out how to game it and are scamming everybody. It's the way of our world. But yeah, I'm getting through them. And so far, they're not spoiling. They're doing great. They're just sitting in the fridge, and I have a funny feeling they're all going to last. No problem. Should have an egg party. No, I'm not interested in a party. Spanky is and Peter talking about Sherry's high heels. You guys are incorrigible. Oh, man. Anyway, listen, guys. It's been great. I imagine I'll be perfectly okay to do my live stream on Tuesday night. I will make my video tomorrow morning and maybe even make one Monday morning before I go to the dentist. I may not be able to release it until later in the afternoon. But if anything is going to throw me off, I don't want you all, I know you all worry about me, and I appreciate that. And then there are times when I wonder, would anybody miss me if I just disappeared? I like to think you would. I will post on the community tab if I'm going to be out of commission, unable to talk because I have a big swollen jaw or something like that. I'll let you know. Aunt B, you're very welcome. Everybody's saying goodbye. Bye, all of you. Be safe. Big hugs to all, says Spanky. Oh, my God. You know we would miss you to pieces, says Sherry. I'm fairly confident that many of you would, and as I would miss you if I lost the opportunity, even if it's just in some small way, to be involved in your lives as well. So thanks for coming, everybody. It's time for some blues. Yeah. And for me, to say goodbye, plan on seeing you Tuesday at 8 p.m. for my regular live stream. Everybody's invited, of course. And until then, y'all can certainly take the rest of the day off and eat meat.